Were you managing expectations going into this summit, and have you been impressed by, I suppose if you can call them, some sort of deliverables coming out of the meeting?
Well, some of the outcome of the summit was impressive, but some were not so impressive. I think there have been agreements overall on the improvement of ties between the two Koreas, a lot of new proposals. But on the denuclearization side, some might think that the outcome is not as good as they expected. But I think slow progress, though it may be, is better than no progress or better than sliding back.
North Korea has really come out of this in a pretty strong, positive position, right? I mean, when you get down to it, they haven't actually had to give anything up. And has anything meaningfully changed since the Singapore summit?
Well, they don't look like giving too much yet. But even in this summit agreement, but you can have an assumption. They might be thinking about negotiation with the United States, and they wanna do that when they meet the Americans, or they might be trying to muddle through without getting around to real denuclearization. If the latter is the case, it will take more time. But if they want to do that with the Americans, I think we will see next week when they meet with the Americans.
Mr. Ambassador, we actually saw U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, just criticize and attack Russia for undermining sanctions against North Korea. We've already seen President Trump blame China for not upholding sanctions. Is this a risk if you see warming relations between the U.S., South Korea, and North Korea, that sanctions will not be upheld?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable concern. There are at least two things we should be wary of in doing all of this. One is, to slide back to the last year where the tensions were high and they looked like they were on the verge of a military conflict. We cannot go back there. And the other risk is, of course, easing or lifting sanctions without, really starting denuclearization. So as long as we are wary of these two negative scenarios, I think we can talk to North Koreans. We can be reasonably hopeful.
On that, when you're talking about hope for the Korean Peninsula, we're now hearing that the two Koreas are going to pursue hosting the 2032 Summer Olympics together. I just wonder what the risks are here, because we keep talking about warming relations, but we haven't seen any progress with denuclearization.
Well, holding the joint sports event is one thing that we can do without undermining the sanctions. So I'm not particularly worried about it. And we are talking about 2032, which is far in the future. So I think, probably, and Mr. Pompeo mentioned that the negotiations with North Korea should be completed by 2021. So, we can be reasonably hopeful. That's what I mean. And we don't lose much by, talking to North Koreans. And we will see next week when they meet in New York how things have changed.